Hello, Overcomers, and welcome to Connect Over Coffee. This special edition is so special because we have not one, but two guests with us today. We have Sherry Pollux with us. She needs no introduction in the ovarian cancer community. Sherry has inspired so many women worldwide with her advocacy, her love, and her, constantly talking about her survivorship, which we absolutely tremendously love. So please join me in cheering for Sherry and Charlie as they join us for this edition of Coffee. I keep missing those two words, Connect Over Coffee. So with that, hi Charlie, hi Sherry, how are you?
Good, thanks for having us. Yeah, we're super excited to have a new puppy in our house. She's about 5.5 months. Her name is Charlie. You can see she's very chill. She is in training to become a therapy dog, so it's been really neat for Martin and I to when we adopted her, she'd actually already been in training for about 5 months. So she'll be training here at home with us for 2 months, and then she'll go back. She'll actually train for 2 months in North Carolina, where our home is there, and then she'll go to Illinois for a couple months to finish her certified therapy dog training. So what makes it really cool is that, through our foundation, we not only help women that have ovarian cancer, but we also help children that have pediatric cancer. Mm-hmm. So Charlie will be going to the Children's Hospital with us, and she'll also be going to the infusion room with me to meet with ovarian cancer patients, whether getting chemotherapy just to bring them comfort. And she's very chill. She loves being pet, and I think she's going to be a great therapy dog and bring a lot of people smiles while they're going through their treatment.
That is so wonderful. Thank you for that introduction.
Yeah.
She looks like she could rest a little right now. Hi, Charlie.
Yeah. She sleeps a lot. So yeah, it's a lot of work to have a puppy, but we are looking forward to taking her to the hospitals with us. And I actually had a therapy dog come in with me when I was doing my chemotherapy the first time, and it was a huge comfort to me, to be able to do that and pet a dog while I was getting chemo, and it brought me a lot of comfort, made me really happy. I had a dog at home at the time that has since passed away, but just knowing the comfort that it brought me, I wanted to be able to do that back for an ovarian cancer patient or a pediatric cancer patient. So
that's really amazing.
Yeah, she's cool. I'll put her down so we can talk.
Okay. So you have such an inspiring story. I mean, so much about you that our viewers and our audience and our followers would want to know. But I'll start with the question of your diagnosis. So you were diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer at 35, which is so young. And what were the symptoms and the signs you experienced, and how did you eventually get diagnosed?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had all the crazy bloat symptoms that every other ovarian cancer patient has, unfortunately. I had severe pelvic pain. I was bloated, frequently urination. I had some lower back pain. I had some changes in my bowels. I had just about every symptom that most ovarian cancer patients experience. And I think, we know through this community that the issue with that is that a lot of women experience those same symptoms every month for other reasons. We might be going through menopause, or we might have PMS, or we might just have an off day where we don't feel good and we don't think anything of that bloating or that stomach cramping. And for me, it really became persistent over the course of, I would say, a good 2 months where I was really not feeling well, and had gone to my general practitioner and told her I wasn't feeling well and that I had those symptoms, and was referred to a GI doctor that told me I had Crohn's disease. I had somebody tell me I had colitis, somebody tell me I had irritable bowel syndrome, just that typical, I call it patient pinball process, where we kind of get bounced around from doctor to doctor, and no one really knows what to do with us because they don't really know what we have. So, that was really difficult. I had never heard of ovarian cancer, so it never even came up on my radar, and I didn't ever think about it. And when I went to my OBGYN to tell him I wasn't feeling well, there was no poster on the wall that said, these are the symptoms of ovarian cancer. There was no pamphlet that said, if you've experienced these symptoms over the course of 6 weeks, you need to to see if you're maybe at risk for this. Frankly, to be honest with you, when I met with my OBGYN and they did a transvaginal ultrasound and they told me that I had ovarian cyst, never through that entire conversation, and there was several of them over the course of about 4 visits, did they ever even mention the word ovarian cancer. So I'd never heard it. I didn't even know that I could get it at such a young age. So it just wasn't on our radar. I was perfectly healthy. I didn't have any family history. And I think that's what makes this disease so hard to detect, is that, you know, those symptoms are very common. We don't have a medical system where doctors are looking for it in younger women. You know, typically we're not even asking women over the age of 50 or, you know, under the age of 50 if they're even at risk for it. So never throughout that time did he ever even say, you know, has your mom had ovarian cancer or breast cancer? And turns out my mom was later diagnosed with breast cancer while I was going through chemotherapy. So, you know, there definitely was there were a lot of warning signs throughout that time, throughout those couple months. We just, you know, I guess just looking at a patient that was perfectly healthy, never been sick in her day in her life, it just wasn't, it just never came up in any of our conversations.
And I think your age was a factor for the doctors not thinking of anything else, because we hear this from our younger survivors all the time. That when they go to the doctor and they present their symptoms, the fact that it could be ovarian cancer never comes up because of the age factor that no one thinks about, that you could potentially have ovarian cancer. So it is. Yeah,
unfortunately. And, you know, since I've been an advocate for this disease, I've met so many women my age and younger than me. I mean, I had a girlfriend that was 27 years old, you know, that had it. And I mean, I've met so many women that are under the age of 30 that have been diagnosed with this disease. And we're all late stage, you know, unfortunately. So those are, you know, obviously things we're trying to change, you know, getting an early detection test, making sure that our doctors are aware that you don't have to be 65 or older to get this disease. And, you know, the younger girls that are, you know, surviving, and even the older women that are surviving, I know so many of them, you know, just standing up and being a voice for this disease so that we can share our symptoms, you know, we can teach women what to look for, and we can teach them what to ask their doctors for, because there's obviously a breakthrough in communication in our medical system somewhere, and we have to fix that, or we're not going to, you know, we're not going to see the survival numbers get better until we do that.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned your mom, so that she was diagnosed while you were going through chemo. So does that mean that you have some sort of a genetic history or a family history, or?
I actually don't. I was tested for the BRCA gene while I was going through my first round of chemotherapy, and I did not have it. My mom and my sister do not have it. My mom was lucky. She was diagnosed stage 1. So she did a lumpectomy and radiation, and then she kind of, you know, went on with her life, which is very typical for stage 1 breast cancer patients. We don't see that so much with ovarian cancer, unfortunately. But I'm not BRCA positive, but ironically, eventually down the road, my tumor ended up being BRCA positive, which is, you know, I don't want to get into all the medical technical terms because I don't want to confuse anyone, but you know, your tumor can mutate, and then your tumor can become BRCA positive. And when that happened for me, it actually sort of ended up being a good thing that my tumor was BRCA positive, because it made me more responsive to the PARP inhibitor that I'm on now. So, you know, I never thought I'd say that I wanted to be BRCA positive, but in that situation with my recurrence, when they tested my tumors, they actually had mutated it, and it ended up being a good thing, and hopefully makes me more responsive to the PARP inhibitor that I've been on now for a little over 2 years.
Just building up on that question, what challenges have you faced in your journey with ovarian cancer?
You know, I think the biggest challenge really is that there's just not a lot of young women that have it. You know, there's just not a lot of us out there. And I think too, you know, the ones that are out there, some of them, you know, might be stage 1 or 2, and they go through their chemotherapy, their 6 months of chemotherapy, and they go on with their lives. And they don't ever really want to speak about it again. And I understand that. I do. I have compassion for women that have been through something very traumatic and just decide that they don't really want to share it anymore. They want to put that part of their life behind them. I have respect for that. I understand it. I also think that we just need more women that are young that can stand up and be a voice and say, hey, you know what, this can happen to you too. It happened to me. And you know, if it can happen to me, and I was healthy, young, 35, hadn't had children yet, didn't fall into that risk factor category, it can happen to you too. And so, the biggest challenge really is, obviously, you guys all know this, the funding. We need better funding through the NCI and through some of our government programs, which we're slowly seeing that come up, and that's starting to come back again, which is great. I think the funding, the early detection test has been a huge challenge, just being an advocate for that and going to Congress and talking about how we need an early detection test for this disease so that we can stop it at stage 1. And then also, obviously, the challenge of getting a doctor to diagnose us, whether we have an early detection test or not. How do we get a doctor to diagnose us at a young age or at any age when we just have, regular symptoms that most women go through every month, personal challenges, just like everybody else, I struggled when I had to shave my head, and I struggled when I didn't feel well enough and I couldn't get off the couch. I struggled with all the same things everybody else does. I just, always shifted my mindset to think about the positive things in my life that were happening during that time, and that this was a season of my life where things weren't going to be great, but that would change, and that another season would come where I would feel better and life would go on. And it did, and I think that that's super powerful for your body to have that mindset where you're kind of teaching yourself, that this is just temporary, and this cancer, I can learn to live with it and learn to look at it like, not necessarily like it's my friend, but sort of in a way, that like I can live a really good life with this if I can learn how to live with it. So how do I do that? And how do I manage this disease as if it's a chronic illness, not as if it's a death sentence, which I think so many ovarian cancer patients are so scared and fearful when they get diagnosed with this disease, because it is scary and the statistics can be very daunting. But just treating it like it's a chronic illness, like somebody that has arthritis or lupus, how do I live with a chronic illness, and what do I need to do to support my body to be able to live a healthy life while I'm doing that? And that's really the things that I focused on and what I've been doing since my diagnosis in 2014.
Fabulous. So, you have been so great in facing those challenges, and you took it beyond just being positive in creating Sherry Strong. So tell us about your inspiration and evolution behind Sherry Strong.
Sure. Well, in the beginning of my my diagnosis, when I was in the hospital and I was going through chemotherapy, our foundation director at the time had started this hashtag on social media that was a way for fans to connect with me and send me messages of well wishes through the NASCAR community. So Sherry Strong was that hashtag. So as that took off, and we started to see all these messages come in and people started using, Sherry Strong on things that they were making and sending to me, and she thought, what if we started a website that was sherrystrong.org where we could actually reach out to this community of women that so badly need some hope and they need some guidance on where to go from here once they're diagnosed. And it doesn't have to be ovarian cancer. It could be any kind of cancer. Like when you get this diagnosis and it's so devastating, what do you do? Where do you go? What questions do you ask your oncologist? What kind of food should I be eating? How do I support my body during chemotherapy? How do I deal with my partner that I'm living with, or my husband or my wife or my kids, or all of those things, and shaving your head and losing your hair, these traumatic things you go through in your life. We thought maybe we could use this as a resource to reach out to the cancer community and help women. So that's kind of how sherrystrong.org got started. And within, I would say maybe 6 months to a year when we started it, we started to get hits from all over the world, from Germany and Ireland and all these different places. And we thought, wow, we really reached out to a lot of people and helped a lot of people. So how can we make this better? And continually, really every day, we're constantly thinking, how can we make this better? How can we connect with them? I have a blog on there where I talk a lot about things that I'm going through and how I feel, and making connections with people that are reading. And I think it's just been, that's been a great resource for all cancer patients. I meet tons and tons and tons of women, but I meet a lot of men too that have been on there and read about their partners, what their partner's going through, or just even their own diagnosis. So I don't think it has to be ovarian, but I'm so proud of sherrystrong.org and everything the Martin Trix Jr. Foundation has been able to do through the resources that we have, and using Martin's platform as a race car driver to be able to reach not only just the NASCAR community, but it goes so much broader than that. And that's been a huge blessing for me to use my voice to be able to help other people. So I'm super grateful for that.
And we are very grateful to you for speaking up and just doing so much for the ovarian community through Sherry Strong. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
And tell us, just building up on all of this is you have learned to thrive in the face of ovarian cancer, both physically and emotionally, as you just stated. So we also know that you're a strong supporter of healthy eating, staying active, and being mindful. So please share your daily routine with us and any guidance you would have for our overcomers to take care of themselves while they're going through this journey.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think, my daily routine is pretty well, obviously right now with coronavirus, it's been a little bit different than it normally is, but my daily routine is pretty much usually the same. I wake up about 7:30. I come into the kitchen. My number one rule with like my cell phone, because I get so overwhelmed with text messages and emails and such and social media, is just to ignore my phone for the first hour that I'm up. And I think that for me, that really created this like peaceful, meditative kind of mindset in the mornings where I wasn't rushing to look at my phone and see what people had texted me or emailed me or, what kind of sadness is going on in the world maybe, or what kind of people had reached out on Sherry Strong's Instagram or Facebook page. And not that it was all sad, because it wasn't. I just needed that moment to myself in the mornings. And it took me 35 years to learn that it was okay to take 30 minutes from the time that you wake up to spend a little bit of time in a meditative state, whether that's listening to Headspace is one of my favorite apps. I'll get on Headspace and do 10 minutes of meditation. I always drink hot lemon water in the morning, which is really weird to a lot of people, but the first thing I do is drink a glass of water just to wake my digestive system up. And then I have some warm water with lemon in it, which we all know has a lot of vitamin C in it and also aids our body in digestion. So it's super helpful to wake up our liver in the morning and detoxify. And then after that, I make my smoothie. I think I have, a lot of, anybody that follows me on social media knows I post my recipes all the time. So I always post my smoothie recipes. There's some on sherrystrong.org as well. But I usually eat a really healthy either grain smoothie or make some type of eggs, avocado, tomato, fruit, something super healthy. And then I do some type of workout. I either go outside and walk and listen to some healing meditations on my phone. I listen to podcasts to learn more about how I can battle my disease. There's a million podcasts out there where you can learn about how to take care of your body. I'll listen to some of those while I'm walking. I do a lot of yoga. I'll do like a half-hour yoga. Usually do yoga 3 days a week. So it just depends on, the mornings that I'm not walking, I'm usually doing an hour of power yoga. And then, on a normal week when I'm home, I start my day. So that could mean anything from having interviews like this all day long to, going to my business, which I still own a clothing store where we live. I wear many different hats throughout the day as far as, whether I'm traveling that day with Martin or I'm, working with the foundation all day, working on Catwalk for a Cause, one of our fundraisers, working on Sherry Strong initiatives and fundraisers, meeting with doctors and nurses at the hospitals to figure out ways that we can make the infusion rooms healthier and better for the patients. We're building a pediatric emergency clinic where we live. We're building a Sherry Strong integrated clinic where we live. So my days are very full of meetings usually. And then, again, when I come home at night, I always pack my lunch. I carry a cooler with me everywhere to make sure that I don't get in a situation where I'm stuck out in meetings or, on the road and I can't have access to healthy food. So I usually pack a big salad, lots of veggies. I make my own dressing, just a little olive oil, lemon juice, some garlic in there, a little bit of honey to sweeten it up. Put that on my salad, bring a couple homemade granola bars or some fruit with me during the day. Super easy. Takes me 5 minutes to prep it in the morning. And then when I get home at night, usually it's spending time with Martin cooking dinner. And then again, just sort of having that decompressing time at night where I can sit down. I don't watch a lot of TV. I've never been a big TV watcher. I don't watch Netflix. I don't do any of that. I'm usually either reading a book about cancer and how I can support my body or reading a motivational book or something positive. At nighttime, I take a bath with hot water and Epsom salts and lavender essential oils. It's just kind of my way to calm myself down before I go to bed at night. Again, I'll do some more like stretches and listen to some Headspace or read my book to help me fall asleep at night. I have had some trouble sleeping since, being in menopause and all those wonderful things that come with being a cancer patient, your anxiety, all of that. I have all the same things everybody else does. I use CBD oil and melatonin and some different things to help me sleep at night. Meditation, taking the hot bath with the Epsom salts and the lavender oils has helped a ton. I think for the most part, just not pushing myself every day to try to be too much to everybody. I've learned that it's okay to just say no sometimes. There's going to be days where you just don't feel great. And there's going to be days where you just have so much on your plate. It's okay to just look at it and say, you know what, I'm sorry, but I can't do all these things today. And I had to get myself to a place where I was okay doing that, because the Sherry before cancer would have said, you know what, I got this. I can do all of this in one day and be super mom to my dog and be super wife to Martin and be this and that to everybody around me. And the reality is that we can't do that. We're not superhumans. And at some point we have to stop and say, enough is enough. Our bodies can't take this, especially when we're going through chemotherapy. We need to rest our bodies and learning that it's okay to ask for help, on those days when you're tired and you can't do anymore, that it's okay to look at your neighbor or your mom or your sister or somebody that's close to you and say, you know what, I need help today. I need help getting dinner ready, or I need help doing this errand, or whatever it might be. And that was really tough for me. I'd always been really, really independent. So taking that time to just,
Thank you for mentioning it, because we have heard that from so many survivors also, that, just asking for help is more difficult than you could potentially think. That it's not easy to say that, yes, I do need help. I need help with X, Y, and Z. So, but it's important to get to that place where you are talking about help.
It is so hard. And I think, as women, we're so used to being doers. We're so used to, making dinner, making beds, taking care of the house, grocery shopping, running errands, going to work, taking care of our husbands, doing whatever we do, taking care of the dog. And we wear a million different hats throughout the day. And that, sometimes it's okay to just look at that list and go, you know what, I'm really overwhelmed. And today I can't be this person. And that it's okay to call somebody and say, you know what, can you go to the grocery store for me? I just need for you to pick up a couple things. And you know what, maybe I can ask my neighbor to make me dinner tonight and drop it off on my front porch, because I don't have the energy to do that. Or maybe if I can have a friend start a meal train for me, and they can start delivering my friends can all get together and start delivering meals for me, which we had, and it was amazing to allow somebody to do that for us. So I think all of those things, just teaching yourself that it's just okay sometimes to just lay on the couch and rest, and have those days where you need to be calm, and you need to allow your body to heal and not feel guilty about that. We all can do that, whether we have cancer or not. So that could be a great lesson for all of us, for sure.
Absolutely. What is the one regret that you have, and how have you turned it into a strength?
I think the one regret, I'm assuming you mean in regards to my cancer journey or my diagnosis?
Anything, however you wish to answer this.
Okay. Well, I think just because of our audience, really my one regret with my disease would be that as soon as I was diagnosed, I went on the internet and Googled stage 3 ovarian cancer. And I thought, maybe this would be a good way to find information out about my disease, because like I said, I had never heard of ovarian cancer when I was diagnosed. I didn't know anything about it. So I did Google it, and it is the internet can be a very, very scary place for cancer patients in general, but especially ovarian cancer patients. A lot of the information online is very outdated. I think that we all have to remember that we're a statistic of one. That what we're reading on there does not mean that applies to our life. And so the first thing I did when I got home is Googled what I had. And I texted my doctor back and I said, you just gave me a death sentence, didn't you? And he wrote back, and all he said was, stay off the internet. And I said, how did you know? And he said, because it's what every patient does when they leave my office. And you have to remember that that's not you, that those statistics don't define who you are and where you are in your journey. And I think as an ovarian cancer patient, that's the most important thing that we can remember, is that when we compare our story to somebody else's, we're comparing apples to oranges. We're not comparing the same DNA. We're not comparing the same type of cancer. We're not comparing the same stage sometimes, or the same class of cancer. There's many different types of ovarian cancer. We're all very unique. And that's why some of us respond to chemotherapy and some of us don't. I think that remembering that we all have a different journey, and that we're all going to walk this path a different way. And some of us are going to walk the same path, and that's okay. And that's great that we can compare stories, but many of us aren't. So having said that, with the internet and, talking to other survivors and comparing stories with them, I learned really quickly that it wasn't really fair for me to compare my story to anyone else's, that it was okay to reach out to other survivors and say, hey, what have you been through? And what can you tell me that you did that helped you? Or like, where are you at in your journey? But I don't think it's okay to say, is your story just like mine? And wait, what kind of drugs did you take? Because I want to take those too. And the best thing you can do is to take their advice and then use that to ask your oncologist your own questions. Go to your own doctor and say, you know what, I talked to a friend of mine. She's been through the same thing. And you know what, she said this drug worked really well for her. What do you think about that drug working for me? But not necessarily saying that I need to walk this path because she walked it too, because we're all very different. So, I mean, in the beginning, I wish I could have told myself that then, but I didn't know the things that I know now. So now it's probably my favorite thing to share when I speak at hospitals or just in front of a room full of cancer patients in general, is to stay off of Dr. Google. You know,
love that.
It's just not a very happy place to be. You know, we don't need to be on the internet all day. Same thing with this coronavirus. We don't need to be on the internet all day reading about all these stories. We need to be focusing on the positive things that are in the positive aspects of our life and our disease. And once you can do that, you're going to be in a much better place to fight what you're going through, for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, with this whole situation, but in general also as a survivor, there's a lot of anxiety, right? And you have gone through ovarian cancer twice. It has come back. So you've gone through treatment more than once. And so you have gone through that whole level of stress and anxiety with the cancer coming back and, the treatment forward. So what is the one message that you would give to a fellow survivor who just got diagnosed or going through treatment and in the fear of the cancer coming back?
Yeah, gosh, I wish I could go back and be that. I wish I could go back and be the woman that I speak to people about now, that I want them to be. Because I think for one, had my doctor never told me that my chance of recurrence was so high, I would have never even been fearful of it, because I never would have thought about it. So I always tell my doctors now when I go see them, I think it's important to educate ovarian cancer patients that they do have a chance of recurrence, because we want to know that we should be prepared for something to happen, but we shouldn't expect it to happen, right? We shouldn't sit around every day thinking about our disease coming back, because it's not mentally good for any of us. So I wish I could go back and tell that scared young girl then that yes, there was a high chance that our cancer could come back, but no matter how much I worried about it every day and how much I lived my life in fear of that recurrence, it wasn't going to change the outcome. So why couldn't I have just enjoyed all that time that I was in remission and focused on keeping my body healthy and eating healthy foods and doing all the things that I knew I could do to support my body, then sit around every day and think, oh man, I wonder if it's going to come back tomorrow, or I wonder if it's going to come back next month when I plan that trip that I really want to go on. Those thoughts aren't good for any of us. They're not good for anybody. So, my advice would be to just live your life each day and remember that no matter how much you worry about it coming back, you're never going to change the outcome of whether it is or not. We can't control that. Unfortunately, there's no magic pill and there's no magic drug and there's no magic doctor that can look at you and say, you're cured and there's no chance of recurrence. And that's true for every cancer, by the way. That's not just ovarian cancer. There is no cure for cancer anywhere in this world. We know that. There are some cancers that have a higher recurrence rate, and yes, ovarian cancer is one of them. We also have great drugs to fight those recurrences. So as soon as I found out that I was in a recurrence, my first thought was, hey, what do we have to do? Let's do a PET scan. Let's find out where it's at in the body. Let's do surgery and get it out. Let's figure out let's do some testing on the tumors, find out what drugs I'm going to be most responsive to, which you can do through Clarity Foundation. There's many different Claris, there's many different labs you can use to do that. Find out the chemotherapy drugs that you can be most receptive to, and then, kind of get going on your program. What can I do? Okay, how am I going to fight it? What am I going to do next? And then get in that, that mode of like, how do I get through this season of my life, these 6 months where I have to go through chemotherapy so I can get out on the other side and I can see life again, because I had a taste of what remission was like and I know how good that life can be. So I want to be there again. So that being your ultimate goal, right? How can I get back to that again? How can I get back to being in remission again? And, once I went through my recurrence and had my drugs and got back into that place again, it was it was a little scary, thinking, now I've got to decide what am I going to do? Am I going to get back? Am I going to go on a PARP inhibitor? Am I going to take the chance that I don't have a recurrence again? And, it's a personal preference for all of us. But for me, it was, hey, I'm going to try a PARP inhibitor. We've had a lot of success with it in the ovarian cancer community. We've seen it now being used with frontline, but we've seen great success with women that have responded to platinum-based therapy. So, for me, it was go on a PARP inhibitor, see how well I do, and see how many years of remission I can get. And I'm, 2.5 years in, and life has been beautiful. So I don't really have any side effects. I felt great. So, I think there is so much hope out there, and there's so many women that have been through what we've been through, but they're not really coming back to chat rooms and on the internet and talking about it because they're out living their lives. They're making memories. They're spending time with their family and their friends, and good for them, so the women like me that are standing up and speaking out, follow women like me that, are going to talk about it and bring positivity into your life and focus on that. And I think that's so important for your mental health,
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned a very important point as you're going through that phase where you're waiting for the cancer to come back. Instead of the fear and anxiety, if you focused more on mental health, just keeping yourself happy with the things that you want to do or like to do, just eating a good diet and, just making sure you're getting your exercise each day. Those simple little things actually help, build your overall physical health and makes you stronger.
And your immunity, right? You're building your
which even might change, how far, this ovarian cancer is going to come back or not. So those are important.
It is so important. Yeah. I tell patients all the time when I speak at hospitals, focus on the things that are in your control. You cannot control whether your cancer comes back or not. You cannot control whether a chemotherapy drug is going to work for you or not, or how well you're going to respond to it. But the things you can control are your attitude, what you're putting in your body, what you're using to fight your disease through your food. You can control your positivity level, your joy, your exercise, supplements, sunshine, getting vitamin D every day, all these things that are in your control. Those are the things you focus on, spending time with friends and family and making memories and all these things. Those are the things you want to focus on every day, not dwelling on the fact that you're not sure whether your cancer is going to come back again one day. That's not different.
Sherry, thank you. This is a fun question. So if you were a new addition to the crayon box, what color, and you cannot say teal, just so you know. What color would you be and why? And what inspires your inner sparkle?
If I was going to be a Crayola color in a coloring box, I'd probably be lavender. I love lavender, the color, just like the really, pretty light purple color. I also love the scent of lavender. I diffuse a lot of it in the bathtub and in my diffuser at home. It has a very calming effect on me. I use a roller ball and put it on my wrist at night before I go to bed. I use it, on my pillow and such. So it not only has really calming effects, but I just naturally like the color. I also have a store where we live in Mooresville named Lavender for the same reason. My inner sparkle, gosh, I hope people think that I have an inner sparkle. I try to every day. Obviously I have days where I don't feel 100% like I'm running around, sparkling all the time. But I try, and I think a lot of that, just most of it comes from the way that you're raised, and the environment you've been raised in. My mom's a very happy, positive person. I've always looked at the glass half full and never half empty. It's just kind of been my mindset my whole life. I do think you can change that about yourself, by doing meditation and reading positive affirmations every day and surrounding yourself with people that bring you joy and doing things that bring you joy in your life. For me, that might be taking a walk on the beach and watching the sunset. And so I try to do a lot of things that bring me joy in hopes that then I in turn can bring that to other people. Because if I'm happy, then I can share that happiness with other people. But, if you're sitting home and you're miserable and you're not happy, then it's going to be really hard to share that sparkle with somebody else. So, surrounding yourself with people that can help bring that out in you is huge.
Thank you for that. Now, I have to ask you a question on COVID-19 because it's just top of mind for everyone, right? So with this outbreak and all of us, our lives have become so limited. So how are you staying aware but not anxious while we go through all this? And what guidance would you give to our overcomers and survivors that are looking for some inspiration?
Yeah, well, I think all of us are feeling a bit anxious, of course, whether we're cancer patients or not, just, based off of what's going on in our country right now and all over the world. And it is some, at days that watching the news has been very daunting. I think staying away from, watching the news all the time. I think it's important to be informed, but not sit in front of your TV all day and watch the news. That's not good for anybody. We don't need to constantly hear about who's passing away or who's getting infected with the disease. We want to hear about the survivors, just like I tell people when I speak at ovarian cancer conferences, we want to hear, raise your hand if you're a survivor. We want to know who you are. We want to know if you've survived 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. There's many, many, many people that are recovering from coronavirus, COVID-19, many people. And those are the stories we're not really hearing about on the news. So focus and follow people on social media that are talking about those stories. There's this great Instagram account that I follow that's called the Good News Movement. And every day, all they do is post stories about people that are surviving COVID and people that are out in their neighborhoods dancing and sharing joy with other people and bringing meals to people and doing things in the community. And those are the things that I think we should be focusing on. It is very difficult to not be anxious when you're a cancer patient and there's a virus going around that you think can affect people that have a compromised immune system, which is all of us. So for me, that's just really been limiting my time on TV and on social media, being very careful who I follow and what I'm paying attention to, spending a lot of time outdoors, taking walks, riding my bike, getting some sunshine every day, which I'm in Florida right now, so that's been very easy for me to do. If you're up in the Northeast or somewhere where it's not warm, you can still get outside and take a walk and still get outside and it's springtime, things are blooming, just surrounding yourself with nature and doing the things that bring you joy. And, the anxiety part of it, I think is something that everybody's going to have to learn how to manage as we navigate this new life that we're all living. I went to the grocery store yesterday and I had to wear my mask and I wore gloves and it gave me a little PTSD. It made me think of chemotherapy again, and I had to just shift my mindset. Everybody else in the grocery store has got the same thing on. We're all just protecting ourselves and the people around us. This is temporary, hopefully, hopefully it's going to pass within the next couple months or 6 months or however long it's going to take before, we're not worried about, this curve that keeps going up. I think focusing on all those things and just trying to still live your life and still being cautious, obviously, as cancer patients, we need to be cautious. And, I haven't left the house really in like 3 weeks, except to go to the grocery store.
This is my week 4. And
oh my gosh.
Did not leave the house. So
yeah, it is very hard. I'm not taking that away from anybody. It has been very difficult. It's obviously a little easier for me because I've been able to spend a lot of time outside. And I've had a new puppy that's kept me very busy. So those are all things that are, I've kept my mind off of it. But I do think it is difficult to not be able to leave the house and just spending time outside. And if you can call a loved one, I mean, what a great time for social media and technology, to be able to FaceTime people and do this, and still see people in your living rooms by Zoom or FaceTime or however you're able to do that and still be connected to your family and your friends. I think that's so important. And to remember that even though we have compromised immune systems, we're still very strong, and we can keep our bodies strong through healthy food and supplements and doing all the things that we know that we need to do to support our bodies. And for me, that's just telling myself every day that, I'm going to be okay no matter what. And kind of, creating positive affirmations when I wake up in the morning, like I am healthy, I am strong, repeating those things over and over in your head. If you have to, when you take a walk, just for 5 minutes, just keep saying it. I am healthy, I am strong. Do the things that are going to, turn your mind around so you're not constantly thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get this virus and then I'm going to be really sick. We don't need to do that. That's not good for any of us. So, the positive affirmations are a great way to do that. I love it.
So on the note of something positive, this is my last question. Please share something positive with our listeners and tell us what would be your parting message to our survivors and overcomers.
Well, I think something positive in regards to ovarian cancer patients is that we're seeing these new drugs come out that are doing amazing things for us. I mean, I think that's probably the most positive thing that I can end with is that There's a lot of things coming down the pipeline, but we've seen so much progress with our disease just in the past 5 years. You know, really from the time like Gilda Radner got diagnosed way back in the 80s, we hadn't seen a lot of change in chemotherapy medicines for ovarian cancer patients. You know, we were also getting Taxol and we were also getting cisplatin and the same drugs. And now we're seeing these new drugs that are coming out and these new PARP inhibitors that are showing promise for ovarian cancer patients, not only used in the recurrent setting, but used in frontline. You know, we're seeing women go through 6 months of Taxol, carboplatin, and then, you know, waiting that 8-week period and going right on a PARP inhibitor. And some of these women are seeing 5-6 years progression-free survival. I mean, how amazing is that? You know, my doctor and I talk about it all the time. 10 years ago, you would have never told a patient that she was going to be able to go that long and have progression-free survival. So we are living in a wonderful time of medical advancement, not only with optimal debulking surgeries, but with PARP inhibitors and these new drugs that are coming down the pipeline for chemotherapy drugs as well. I think there's so much promise for us, and if we can just hang on to that next thing that comes out, you know, my doctor tells me every time I see him, you know, you're doing so good on the PARP inhibitor, just hang on, something else is going to come out after that. You know, we want to always have that hope and promise that there's something else right behind whatever we're on. So I think that that's, you know, I don't know that I could end in anything more positive than that. I've met patients that were in the original clinical trial on Rubraca, which is the drug that I'm on, the PARP inhibitor that I'm on, and they've been in remission for 10 years on a PARP inhibitor. And that's amazing. And so we are seeing a lot of women have really good response on these drugs. And, you know, as far as being an advocate for that, I'll continue to talk about that and go to Congress and meet with President Trump and do everything I can to get these laws passed and get, you know, get our costs down for these drugs. I mean, that's all I can do. You know, I can just be an advocate and be a voice for this disease and teach women how to stay positive and to look for the next thing that's going to come out that I believe is, you know, less than 5 years away. I know 5 years for some women doesn't seem like it's coming fast enough, but, you know, the PARP inhibitors, look how fast they came down the pipeline and look how much success we're seeing with them. So that's great promise that there's something else right around the corner. And I love that.
I'll tell you this, in the last 20-25 minutes, you have shared so much positivity. I just love that. So thank you so very much. It is so important to share positive vibes and, you know, just sharing your light. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
But we are not done yet. I know that you have, you're doing a giveaway, right? For our, so tell us about that. What are you giving away?
I think you guys are going to post it on your Facebook page, correct? Yeah, so if you guys can just tag Sherry at Sherry Strong OC when you post in the comments underneath the video, we would love to, we're going to randomly pick a winner, but tag me and send me a little note and I'll go on there and write you guys back and we can chat a little bit. And then we're going to pick a random winner and send a Sherry Strong prize box to you. So it'll have all kinds of goodies in it that my sister is my director at sherrystrong.org. Jill, she's amazing. And she
is amazing.
There's no better person to fight for your disease than your sister. She was by my side every single day that I went through all of my chemotherapy, all 37 of my chemotherapies. So she is my best friend. She's been a great advocate for many women that are fighting this disease. And her and I go through and usually when we do these prize boxes, we handpick everything. You know, we make sure we get their size. We send some maybe a cool yoga mat or like a Garmin fitness watch, something really cool that we have in the office. We get many donations from different companies that Martin works with. So we'll make a really cool prize box for somebody and give it to one of your viewers for sure.
That sounds super exciting. Thank you, Sherry. And so what you all have to do as overcomers that when we post this video, all you need to do for a chance to win, enter for a chance to win, is to comment on how you plan to overcome or how you are overcoming at this point in time. Doesn't have to be COVID-19. It just has to be your journey with ovarian cancer or anything else that you would like to share. And as you watch this video, as Sherry said, just put your comments in the comment section and we'll make sure that we tag you, the Sherry Strong Facebook page as well, and we'll get you, one of you, a great surprise package from Sherry. So
I love that. Thank you for allowing us to do that.
Thank you so very much. And Sherry, this has been fantastic. It's been an honor to have you, and thank you for sharing your light. And it has been a beautiful conversation. I wish you the very best in your journey and keep inspiring the way you are and keep soaring as an overcomer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye, you guys.
Thank you. Bye.